out of 10 profiles, at least 3 to 5 post some form of discrepancies. It could be inflated credentials, fake degrees, which is a big problem. It's very important to do thorough background checking and making sure you're hiring the right person because you do not know who you hire.
We know that we have a proper core business that is generating good revenues, good cash flow. Now it's about all these other opportunities that I can see out there.
Today, one of the large telcos came and said that we want this customization, and next day I said let's do it, and next week we'll go live.
Hi, welcome to Scaling Today, the podcast where we explore how companies scale and also the future of work. I'm your host, Yuying Deng, and today we have a fascinating episode lined up for you. Our guest today is Kannan Chettiar, the CEO and co-founder of Avvanz, which is a leading company in employee lifecycle management. Kannan has had a distinguished career. He has worked for well-known names like First Advantage before he actually set up Avvanz. I'm really excited about this episode because Avvanz is a 125 persons company that is scaling very quickly, and now it has teams split between 6 different countries, so very relevant for the topic that we have at hand. Welcome to the show, Kannan. Would you like to say a few words to our audience?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Good to interact with the audience, I hope. I believe you've already given me an introduction. I founded the company about 8 years ago. And before that, I worked for multiple organizations in different parts of the world, mainly, of course, commercial leadership positions, and mainly in tech companies, which is why I managed to digitalize this business. Which otherwise could be very manual and very human intensive. I guess we'll talk more.
Okay, looking forward to learn more about that. But really, to kick things off, can you tell us a bit more about your background? I understood that you have worked in Canada before, and also I think for a period of time in the US. Let
Yeah,
us know a bit about like how you got started with
yeah.
your career and how you got started with Avance.
Yeah. So born and bred Singapore,
Mm.
and when I graduated in 1996, which is I think a very long time ago, after,
Not too far off from me.
you look a lot younger. After a bachelor in honors degree in electrical electronic engineering,
Hmm.
while doing that, I felt that I cannot be an engineer because it was just not me because I'm more of a people person.
Hmm.
Fortunately, before my final exam, I got a job in Montreal.
Hmm.
And the thing is, it was just timely because if you remember, 1997 was that very big Asian financial crisis.
Yes, financial crisis. And
Yeah.
were you studying in Montreal at the
No,
time
no, I was
as well?
studying in Singapore, right? I studied in
Oh, I
Singapore, but
see.
then they had a career talk for a Singapore-based position, but I managed to sort of work in and out of there in year.
Okay.
And it was actually a title called sales engineer, which was perfect because I want to do sales and I didn't want to
Hmm.
compromise on the engineering degree my dad put me through. So it's a sales engineer. It makes him happy and makes me happy. Uh, so started off selling electronic components to
Hmm.
manufacturing companies, OEMs, and all that, right? And then in the year 2000, again, if you remember, there was an IT wave.
Hmm.
Everybody wanted to be in IT, right?
Hmm.
And I managed to get a role in Dell Computers again in regional account management.
Okay.
So that's how the whole thing started. And then before the internet bubble, there was a lot of buzz in the e-marketplace. So I wanted to
Hmm.
write that as well with a company called E2Open, founded by IBM, and that
Hmm.
was out of Belmont, California. And then after that, I came back, IT security software. I've dealt with global account management roles, again,
Hmm.
selling to very, very large global EMSs, electronic manufacturing
Hmm.
services companies. They call it contract manufacturing in another company called Aero. And then there was a final e-marketplace company. So again, my journey has all been, and that's where I got to do some Krakow and Poland work as well. So
Hmm.
it's a lot of again, salespeople obviously move,
Hmm.
but once we started managing P&Ls and all that, it also gave me a lot of exposure to from starting off from a local business, regional business, and then global
Yeah.
P&L as well.
Yeah.
I think the international exposure um, sort of framed my mindset that you
Hmm.
always got to think international, cannot think local.
Mm.
And I think coming from a small island, I think is good and very important to have a global mindset on things, right?
Hmm.
And then I was headhunted into First Advantage, a global background
Mm.
screening company, number
Hmm.
one background screening company. But I felt there's a lot of opportunities to sort of automate a lot of things.
Mm,
Although other background screening companies were headhunting me at the time, I felt that I wanted to do something on my own. And I
mm-hmm,
was already hitting my 40s at the time.
mm,
So I thought I might have just a few, maybe one or two shots. So let's go for it. And I fortunately I didn't have to knock many doors. In fact, I think I
mm-hmm.
didn't knock any doors. There were people who approached me to say they wanted to
People
invest.
knocking on your doors instead.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. Yeah. So, and I think that there was a deal closed in a rooftop bar, which
Mhm.
is I think where best place where people can think better. Or maybe I got them drunk and then invest.
Lubricated with alcohol. Yes.
Yeah, I think this is not something we should go on a podcast, but
Probably not.
at least that's how it was. At least that
Hmm.
it was sealed. First gig as an entrepreneur, but I think from day one I started thinking global, and I
Mm,
think all my life of 20 over years of technology experience, PNL, global PNL experience, international exposures. Again, I also speak multiple languages. That helps.
hmm.
So I think all that put together, I put everything I know into the company.
Mm,
And fortunately, I got, I mean, they always say 9 out of 10 startups will fail. But
hmm.
I think for me, it was 1 out of 1, which is good. So I managed to get it through. So now I'm actually now more confident to do newer other companies so that I can also be like yourself, be a serial entrepreneur.
I think
So yeah,
you're definitely well on your way there, Kannan. So you mentioned, right, like this kind of international mindset. So give me an idea, like out of the 20 plus years that you have been working, what percentage of that was actually, on in global roles or like based overseas?
yeah, I think my first job itself, I started working on global clients already, so that was
Mm,
fantastic.
okay.
And then, so I think a major part of my experience were always international clients, which is why all the
Mm,
international traveling, getting out there, meeting clients in different settings, different regions. So I think that I was quite fortunate that I've mostly in my career managed global
hmm.
P&L global clients. So I think that I think that was a huge blessing.
Okay,
Uh,
so
yeah,
that segues us very nicely into my next question, right?
yeah,
Because I know that Avance, you have teams in Philippines, Singapore, UK, the US, Australia, and most recently also India as well.
yeah,
So what inspired you to go with this kind of like distributed team setup?
yeah,
Was it something that was done from the beginning, or was it something that you picked it up in the middle, right? And
yeah.
what benefits do you see in this approach?
Yeah, so it's all about leveraging the best cost positions and global
Mm,
expertise,
mm-hmm.
right? So in our business, we are background checks and due diligence. Although there's a
Yes.
lot of tech and automation, but there's still going to be some level of human interface. For example, talking to a client. Of course, my
Mm,
chatbot is starting to interact with the candidates and clients,
mm,
but again, everybody wants to speak with the real person, right?
mm-hmm.
And again, when we talk, let's say we do a background check, I mean, other than criminal, financial, social media, which all are very data driven,
Yep.
if it is an employment education, you still need somebody to call the previous employer or call the education
So still
institution.
phone calls and all
It's
that
still
will be
people focused,
involved.
right? You can't
Mm,
have a chatbots running that part, which is why I don't believe that AI and chatbots will completely replace headcounts, right? I'm with the
mm-hmm,
school of thought that it'll augment your role and make you do more intelligent work rather than replace your role.
mm-hmm,
So that's how it started. So with that, I wanted to put up people based on not just like I said, the cost and the talent. So
mm-hmm,
due to this, I wanted to have. I mean, the two in Asia, the operational, sorry, the call center BPO capitals would be
mm,
India and Philippines.
yes.
In the Europe, of course, Krakow is there. It's also a melting pot of talents, right?
Mm,
And have some exposure to that. But being based in Singapore, it made sense to go with somewhere nearer.
mm-hmm,
And I felt very comfortable doing it in Philippines because I've managed talents there. And so what I did
mm,
was my agents, my customer service, my operations
mm-hmm,
people, a bulk of them, I think more than
mm-hmm,
100 people are in Philippines.
mm-hmm,
India
mm-hmm,
is where the IT is.
mm.
But
So
then
that's
now
where your developers are
yeah,
based.
developers and all that.
Okay.
But now we have also have a development team in Philippines as well. Again, it's all
Mm-hmm,
about different countries have different kinds of talents, right?
mm,
And then even for the operations and client success now, with our recently opened India office, we're trying to
mm-hmm,
put up. In fact, we've started actually putting up a backup workforce there as well. So due to
mm,
BCP, right, business continuity planning.
mm.
So and the other countries like US, UK, AU are just sales consultants.
Right.
Um,
Okay. And I
and
understand in Singapore it's similar as well, right? So the
the
leadership team
because
is
here
here and
some
sales
leadership
team.
team here, finance, it's all here, and some sales, some consultants as well because we have a lot of large corporate accounts in Singapore that we're managing.
Mm,
So it's really and of course putting in people in countries like Philippines, India is
mhm,
also advantageous to us in terms of cost,
mm.
right? So
Yeah, would like
that's
to understand a bit more about that. Like, because obviously in countries like Singapore, wages are going up, right?
yeah.
And if something, is going to require a person to do, it can get very expensive very quickly.
Yeah, yeah. So cost obviously in Singapore is one of the highest in the region,
Mm,
which is why if I were to put up people here, of course, as a Singaporean, I want to only support I obviously want to prioritize supporting our local
mm,
talents. But I think for a small medium enterprise like us, you have to be very watchful of your EBIT, your operating margins, right?
yes.
And in this business, although fortunately, the automation helps us to buck up the margins, which
Mm-hmm,
is why I think we have one of the highest EBITs in the region
mm-hmm,
among the other background screening companies or the ones I've worked for.
mm-hmm.
But I think more importantly, to maintain that kind of level of operating margin, you have to put up talents in some of the more cost-effective countries,
Mm.
which is why countries like Philippines, India, all are very interesting to us. And they
Yeah,
also have the
I think.
talent because these are call center capitals of the world. Yeah,
For sure, for sure. I mean, I think it's just the reality of the
yeah,
situation right now, right?
yeah.
Singapore's a small island, so the thing about cost going up is really something that can't be avoided for many
Yeah, and it's not
businesses.
just us doing it. A lot of our clients are doing it. Banks, consulting companies, IT companies, all have started doing it, right?
Mm,
And I think Singapore has also started introducing the flexible work arrangements and all that,
yes.
hybrid work arrangements. So I think the mindset is, if I were to have my people not coming to the office anyway, and they're going to be like, hybrid, calling into a Zoom or a Teams or whatever, what's the
Mm-hmm,
difference if the person was based in Singapore or Philippines or India or Malaysia, for example?
mm,
So I think that's why a lot of them have started hiring overseas, like they call it the offshoring, right? I
the
think all
offshoring of
this is
talent.
really because because of the COVID, right? After COVID, people have started thinking differently.
Mm,
In fact, employees want to work differently as well. In fact,
mm-hmm.
when we hire people, if we tell them to come to office, they would not even want to join us. Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
mean,
have to pay them a premium to do so, maybe.
yeah, pay the premium to come to office, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I cannot be like Elon Musk, right? Don't If you don't want to come to office, don't bother coming back at all. I think we are not we don't have we're not at the level to say that. And I think also during COVID, we have started hiring people from far. Like for example, in the Philippines, our office is in Ortigas. We used to
Mm-hmm.
hire within 10 kilometers, but now we have hired all over the place. And with
Mm,
that kind of traffic situation there, to expect people to travel one way 4 hours, it's just not practical,
mm,
which is why we had to go into a hybrid setup. We even gave up the very large office we had and came up to a smaller setup.
mm-hmm,
But that's why I think now, because in our business, cybersecurity is so important, personal data.
mm-hmm,
So, which is why we have a lot of measures in place
mm-hmm,
to make sure that everything is handled securely. Because even large call centers, BPOs have started doing that, right? I'm
mm.
sure we've read about it. So I think offshoring, home work from home setup or hybrid setup, coming to the office twice a week kind of thing, I think is a new normal now, and which is what we have
Mm.
also embraced. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree with you as well. I mean, many of our clients also do the same things. Maybe not just like India and Philippines for them, but also other places like Vietnam, which has a very like dense kind of like developer population, and even
yeah,
Indonesia.
yeah,
Yeah, so very interesting kind of phenomena. I
yeah.
do feel that for Singapore policymakers, in the government, this is probably something that would need to be watched, right? Because it does
Mhm.
impact the competitiveness
Yeah,
of employees in this country. Right. So, Kanan, another question I would really like to ask you, right, is that leading a company that is not just rapidly growing, but also has a distributed team must come with its own set of challenges. So, what are some of the biggest obstacles that you have had to overcome over the past 8 years, and how did you actually overcome them?
yeah. Of course, everybody's dream is I walk out of my room, I can see everybody at one location. So I can just walk over to
Hmm.
my finance, walk over to my HR, walk over to my ops, walk over to my compliance team.
Yes.
Everybody's dream is that. But I think it's not practical anymore, right? Because even in Singapore, for example, they usually time it such a way that they will come on a Wednesday and a Friday, and after Friday we go for a drink. I mean, everyone is starting to work with this kind of my new
Hmm.
normal already. So
Hmm.
of course, the beginning was very, it was a struggle, especially with internet connectivity, which is not good in some of
Hmm.
these countries. It can be
Hmm.
very frustrating, so frustrating that I would just want to get on the plane and jump down there and uh, move things along.
The
Um,
action-oriented boss.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So it was very tough, very tough in the beginning to adjust.
Mm.
But before COVID itself, we actually sort of digitalized. In fact, I think we even started using platforms like Zoom before when people even heard about it. So I
Oh,
always say that I should have
okay.
bought the stock price at that. I should have bought the stock price and I would have made a lot of money out of it. So we actually, I always like to be first early adopter for everything,
Mm,
not just in getting the latest iPhone or latest iPad or whatever.
mm,
That's a little bit of a toy thing, yeah, I like. But I also like to try out new products, and this has been with
mm,
me even with my previous companies. So whenever
mm,
any department want to launch anything, they would always come to me. They always say that among all the regional leaders, you are the one who would like to test things.
mm.
Because it's okay to fail a little bit in small ways, but at least you've
Yep.
tried something, and it's like uh, you learn something new. New ideas pop up when you actually try something new, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
you said that you had an AI chatbot, right? So now you're riding the wave of like AI as well.
yeah. We had a dummy chatbot before. It didn't go well. That's why now we've given birth to a new chatbot, and she's learning still. She's probably 1 month old now. She's learning,
Okay.
and it's not easy,
Mm,
right? She just keeps on learning every day. Her name is Nina,
mm.
and you can be followed on the Avvanz.com website.
Okay.
And we also have problems. I mean, I've read that not many companies have successfully implemented chatbot. It's not easy. Even the large companies all talk about it, but
Mm,
it's actually not a straightforward project.
mm. It
And
requires a
unfortunately,
mindset shift almost and
yes,
shift in your processes for sure.
yes, that's one thing. Number two is also just to find the product alone. A good 8 out of the 10 products advertised as AI chatbots are not AI; they're the dummy ones.
Mm,
So it's very disruptive when companies advertise as AI, but they're not AI. I mean, I was just testing out a very well-known CRM who were trying to pitch to me that I could do better than what you guys are doing, but they were
mm-hmm,
showing me exactly the same features that I already knew about the product when I was using it with my previous companies about 15 years
mm-hmm.
ago. So I told the guy, there is no AI in this. The guy believes it's AI. So I told him, young man, your age is probably my working experience, and this is not AI. Let me tell you that. So I think
Poor
people are
guy.
using it. I mean, I think I'm getting a bit off track here, but
Mm,
I just want to mention the point that I think all this noise actually wastes our time.
mm,
So which is why when you implement technology and all that, we have to really be able to see through it and really persevere through it and implement it. That's how we embraced AI, even internally, right? For example, machine learning to do social media checks.
mm,
Now we're trying to implement RPA and AI to do
mm,
QCs on reports, so that it's
mm,
also not, because humans will tend to make errors. We are not
mm,
perfect, right? But a software or the robot kind of people will probably will not make errors, right? I think the error percentage is very little, and they're going to
mm,
be equivalent to many head counts because they're machine learning and they can process faster.
for sure.
So
Repetitive work, they are the best in it.
yeah, it's not just repetitive work. Repetitive work is of course RPA, but because of the machine learning capabilities, they're able to do smart work as well. I mean, I
Mm,
think we all know software about giving talks in worldwide conferences now, right?
mm,
World conferences. So I think it's all about embracing digitalization when you have a distributed work team, so that and which is why your earlier question, how do you manage it?
mm-hmm,
Is again we've started embracing other kind of technologies as well. It's not just like, for example, taking attendance. We have
mm,
an app where it does a GPS based tracking to make sure the
mm,
person is actually within the office and office or within certain kilometers of the home,
mm-hmm,
to take attendance. Of course, for the management folks, I don't care whether we're at the beach or the golf course, just get it done. It's a performance
mm-hmm,
scorecard, right? But for entry level people, you still need to do the kind of the not micromanaging, just the level of discipline that we need to build, right? So that's one
mm.
technology that we use. And then
Okay.
for example, I think probably you might, I think that might be a follow-up question. How am I going to manage all the distributed teams, right? So we even have a
Mm-hmm,
metaverse now. We use an
mm-hmm.
external product whereby I even have a little office there, and with my own little putting green, so I
Oh,
can
that's
just
interesting.
yeah, so we
Yeah.
have, and then the guys are all sitting at the table. So actually, when you go to Metaverse, there's table, there's a little garden.
Mm-hmm,
There is when they want to play, they can jump on a track to do car racing, and then we'll have
mm-hmm,
little bets throughout the day because you need to do virtual engagement of people, right? And all
mm-hmm,
of us are connected on Google Chat, so every day there'll be little games. Sometimes I will share a joke, comic or whatever. So we have a lot of engagement because my workforce, my youngest is 19, my oldest is 62.
Oh,
My oldest is 62.
wow. So you really have a huge range of
Yes,
ages.
yes, of course. I think from Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, millennials, everyone, right?
Everybody.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you have to engage them in very different ways. so that and you cannot be a very autocratic or very dictatorial leadership. Anyway, I never believed in
Mm.
that. So I actually play with them, dance with them, play, do all kind of funny things with them, even when
Yeah.
we for work
So
monthly
to
quarterly
the
talk.
metaverse, right? I'll be interested to know, like, is it do most people attend it every single day, or is it just a certain segment of people that are
No, no, no.
always on
Everybody's in
it?
the office. Everybody will be in the metaverse. In fact, we're even starting to think about can we open up a lobby for clients to come in and have a chat with
Ah,
us. We're starting to think
interesting.
about that. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
meeting
for now, we
rooms.
just want to get this
Yeah.
going. So the advantage of this is when you're there, and I know that, for example, Yuying is there. I can, let's say, you're my colleague, and I can poke you, and then
Hmm.
your cameras come up, and we can chat. So it's pretty.
Right. So you
Yeah,
can actually approach someone in the
yeah.
metaverse,
We can
like just book
approach.
them, and then the
Yeah.
video camera comes up immediately.
Correct, correct. So if I want to gather in a room for a meeting, everybody will walk over to the little room and they'll sit there, and then they can order drinks and food. In fact, we actually get live coupons, that kind of thing. And then they
Wow.
will. So town halls also like that. I have a little stage there, and then I'll
Hmm.
go up the stage, and everybody will gather, and I can actually see who's standing there, where, and they can shift around.
Okay.
So it's quite fun.
I'm pretty
Because it
sure
sounds.
our listeners would want to know the name of this software you're using.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
actually
care to
it's
share
called
the
Together, I believe. I think it's Together.
together?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's the product I believe my IT has.
Okay. We'll link to it in the show notes.
Yeah, yeah, and I think getting a product is one thing. Maybe I should tell them I'm endorsing you, so you
Referral
should give me some
fees.
discounts. Yeah. So I think I mean, there's many products out there, right? But I think
Mm.
important is how you're going to use it properly. I mean,
Hmm.
I could have the best phone with the most features, but if I don't know how to use 80% of them, it's still a normal smartphone.
Mm.
So I think that part is important, how you use it.
Hmm.
Other than that, obviously we have state of the art cybersecurity. We even have things like alerts when people download anything big. And
Hmm.
then we also have this one is micromanaging. When people join the first 30 days, and after they
Hmm.
tender the last 30 days, the
Hmm.
system will watch what they're doing. So some remote monitoring as well on the laptops,
Mm.
because we want to make sure that they're not doing anything funny.
And I
Uh,
suppose that's because what you're doing, like screening, employment checks and all that, it is a very sensitive and
correct,
regulated kind of space, right?
correct,
So it's
correct.
almost necessary that you
Yeah,
put such controls in place.
yeah, and even banks I mean they've got like your BPO service companies. They all have started doing this
Yes.
because a lot of people are working from home, right? If even for
Mm-hmm.
remote villages, as I've read. So
Mm-hmm.
I think all these security controls are super important. So this is something we will not stinge on. We
Mm.
continue to invest in cybersecurity,
Mm-hmm.
virtual engagement, virtual lots of trainings. So it's all about keeping employees active, and more
Mm.
importantly, they need to have a sense of belonging. Otherwise, you're little,
Mm.
sitting in a little room and you're going to feel very lonely. So, which is
Mm.
why the metaverse, as well as your Google Chats, all this helps. And then we also have
Mm.
like twice a day, we'll gather on a Zoom. We also have like a war room where people can vent the frustrations. We have very, very fun monthly town halls. Of course, quarterly town halls are in person.
Mm-hmm.
If you follow my LinkedIn, you'll see
For
that
everybody in the company
everybody,
or just the
everybody.
leadership team?
No, no, no,
Okay.
everybody. The quarterly town halls is like the hundreds of people gather. Like the recent one, we had a huge party as well. In fact, I think if you follow my LinkedIn, you'll see that we constantly have parties until I think some of the competitors are asking, how come you guys are always partying?
You guys don't look like you're working.
Yeah, that's what they asked. But I said that, you know what, this is so important, especially when you have 19 to 62 years old people. So you have to
True.
engage everyone. And I think for me, because I've got kids of the age, I've got a 16 and a 22, I can
Mm-hmm.
relate to these similar age profile Avanzas as well. So I think that's what keeps us young and that's what keeps us engaged. Yeah. Sorry,
Okay.
very long
And
answer to your short question.
no, no. I mean, like, this is very good sharing. And I think that a lot of our listeners would appreciate it as well because some of them would be from sensitive industries, right? Like maybe crypto or fintech. So they'd be interested to know about the kind of control measures that you have,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay, got it. So I think we answered. My next question was actually going to be on company culture, but I think we have answered that already.
yeah,
So another question, right, Kanan? I believe that your team in India and also the Philippines as well, it's fully distributed, correct? So different areas within the same country. So in that case, when you onboard, when you offboard team members, it can be quite challenging. If someone in Cebu and trying to return the laptop to someone in Manila, for instance.
yeah.
So what's your process for actually bringing new team members on board, and how do you handle things like IT support and equipment, the very nitty gritty things for all these people?
Yeah, yeah. So onboarding is not just about. So for us, onboarding is there's a few things to do. One is, of course, the background checks have to be cleared first.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're not going to get into the VPN and you're not going to be working with Avvanz. So all that's to be cleared. For example, employment, criminal, social media, global watch list, all that. So once it's all cleared, then they will be given. They will. In fact, it's not just about sending. The current process is actually they come to the office to do the onboarding in person, and then get the what do you call the laptop fully loaded with the software, and then they also attend the onboarding training and all that. So onboarding training is also a mix of virtual and in person. So of course, there's a lot of pre-recorded list of items you have to go through, map to their role. So every Avanza wants to step in, right? They will have a complete view into the entire journey for them for the
Okay,
minimum
into
next
the
2 years.
entire onboarding journey, you
For
mean?
the next 2 years, actually. So they will know that based on my role, these are the things I need to complete as part of my onboarding. These are my monthly trainings, learn global courses developed by Avvanz
Okay.
under our training arm. And then your quarterly face-to-face interventions, your roadmap to get into your because we have a very strong culture of promoting within. 90% of 95, in fact, 98% of leadership were all promoted within,
Oh,
right?
wow,
So
that
everybody,
is extremely high. Yeah.
yes, yes, everybody knows that I can actually work hard and perform, and I could be a high pro, hypo,
Yeah,
and
I
then
like that.
from high
Yeah.
potential, I can actually see myself going up. And there's many levels. Although we're a pretty fairly smaller company than many, but we do have many levels. So we are not super flat. We have levels. So because of that, people actually can see them rising through the career ladder. So they've got complete. All that is covered during the onboarding. So people actually get motivated. Wow, I'm joining a company where they value people, value career
With a
progression, value training.
clear career ladder for me.
Yeah, correct. And then after that, when they get back to their homes, the IT support, I think that we were struggling until, of course, we started speaking to eCivil. So now with that, we should be able to remotely manage them, so they don't have to rush back to office for every single problem. Because we do have one IT support guy. In fact, we're also going to have an IT help desk chatbot, which is coming very fast. Very easy to implement that, right? So the chatbot will actually handle all this typical IT queries. Oh, my thing is not
Yep.
working, it's freezing. And you know that 9 out of the 10 times the answer is
Restart your
reboot.
laptop.
Yeah, they call chat
The
line to
answer to
get
most
the
tech
answer.
questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's always restart, right? Whether it's a
Yes.
phone or a laptop or anything. So I think that will take care of that, and then the IT support. But I think other things like more hardware related issues, which is where I think with E7 probably we will find the help that we need. So that not just Philippines, right? I'm talking about. In fact, we had a case whereby in US the candidate didn't return the laptop, and we had to
Very common,
pursue like
actually.
hell. Yeah, so it
Yes.
was very scary. Of course, we managed to disable all the access and all the data remotely, which is good because it's all VPN managed. But in countries like US and UK, it can be pretty scary when they run away with their machines. Which is why now with E7, I think,
Hello, Kannan.
uh, yeah. So now I think with E7, I think it should be a lot easier to be able to manage this.
Yep.
Uh,
I think we lost you there for a while, like
Yeah,
about
I think
30
you froze
seconds or
for a while
so.
as well. Yeah. So I was just saying that in countries like US and UK can be quite scary when people run away with machines, right? And I've heard about other companies struggling with that. So now
Yes.
with this, I think we should be able to remotely manage, remotely collect back everything, deployment plus collecting the laptops, right? Of course,
For
software
sure.
part probably will
Yeah.
still manage it from our own IT team because of the sensitivity involved. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, and Kanan, I understand as well that you're the expert in this, and it is something that's very important because we ourselves are going through it, right? So, one of the services that Avance offers is employment screening, employee screening. And I know that some of the big names in Singapore are actually your clients. So, can you tell me more about the importance for this, particularly for overseas hires, where you may not be actually meeting that person face to face for the
Yeah.
interviews?
Yeah. So we serve a lot of large brands. Our 4,000 plus clients now represent multiple industries, whether it's banking, finance, education, oil and gas, manufacturing, retail. I mean, even casino gaming, ministries, because it's a very industry agnostic thing. Uh, why? Because you do not know who you hire, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yep.
If you follow the movies like Catch Me If You Can, Inventing Anna, you
Oh, that
remember
guy,
the
yeah,
yeah,
impersonated like
yeah,
eight or
yeah.
nine different persons. Yes,
Exactly. So background check should have been done, right? Even Inventing Anna as well,
for
right? The
sure.
Netflix show. She was just going through,
Yes,
bullshitting her way through because no one was verifying
yes,
anything, even banks. And these
yes.
are all real stories, right? Okay, out of 10 profiles, at least 3 to 5 post some form of discrepancies.
Yes.
It could be inflated credentials, fake degrees, which is a big problem.
Mm-hmm.
You will have a disturbing social media footprint, and all that, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
which is why thorough background checking has become very important for any company out there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was actually affected as as a hirer, as a
Oh,
supervisor in my previous companies at least twice. And
okay.
at the time, I didn't even know such technology or such services were available until I joined First
Mm.
Advantage myself, right?
Mm.
I think it was a big awakening, and I wish I had this. I knew this before. I think
Mm.
that still a lot of companies do not know such services exist, which is why
Mm-hmm.
we have to really do a lot of thought leadership and educate the companies and all that, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
it's particularly important because of remote hiring now, right? As you were
yes.
saying, so many companies are hiring overseas, so this is going to become increasingly
Yeah, that's where
problematic for
IDVT
them.
technology has become important. So if you go into a platform, we actually have identity verification technology. So for
Mm-hmm.
example, if you're from UK, you can click on one ID and it will verify you against all the banking accounts and say that this
Mm-hmm.
is really Tom, and then lets you in. For the
Mm.
US, we use IDVT technology from a company called ID Partners. Why? Because, in fact, the UK Parliament talked about this a lot. During
Mm-hmm.
COVID, there was a lot of remote onboarding done, and large
Yes.
countries, you hire people from very far. For them to
Mm.
come down and you hire them was very difficult, especially during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So there were cases whereby they onboarded people who are not even qualified, they were not even the real people. And we also have this issue of fake interviewing. So in
Mm.
other words, somebody else is attending the interview on your behalf, scored it and all that. Because now with
Mm.
AI, deep
Especially
fakes,
for technical
there could be
interviews.
another
Yeah.
Kannan exactly look like me, maybe even better looking, and he could be doing the interview. But then the actual guy coming for the job is different. In fact, we even had a case whereby
Mm.
they had a twin sister. One of the twin sisters attended the interview, scored it big
Mm-hmm.
time, offered the job. But when the other sister who came did not match up to whatever the other half, whatever you call it, delivered in the interview, right?
Mm.
Which is why now with this identity verification technology, you can actually verify that it's a real person
Mm.
and then onboard them, right?
Even identical twins.
Yes, yes. So you can
Oh,
obviously you have
okay.
different credentials, right? So that there is a difference in the biometric matching and all that. So
Mm.
so with that, it's very important to do thorough background checking, and making sure you're hiring the right person because you do not know who you hire. And
Okay.
we are verifying the integrity of the person, the security of the person before you get them on board. So whether it's remote onboarding or onboarding into your actual office, it's the same process. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Anytime that I'm going to hire twins, I'm sure to go and get your technology in place.
That's not just for twins, for anyone, right? Because we also have cases whereby we have seen a fake supervisor giving fantastic reviews of a candidate, because you
Uh
can
huh.
actually pay like 150 US, and actually go through a 1 hour session with this fake supervisor. In fact, I think it's more than 150 US now. This is pre-COVID price,
Mm-hmm.
and they would pretend to be your HR or supervisor and give a fantastic performance review. So
So
there's a
this is
lot
like
of fake.
for a prospect who wants to go for a job, and
Yeah.
the prospective employer wants a reference, and so
Yes.
they can hire this person to be a reference for them,
Correct, correct. So, which is why when
right?
what we do is we will call to the mainland of the HR and verify the authenticity of the HR or supervisor names provided, and then do the check. So, if you're doing this
I
yourself as a
see.
company, please make sure you do that step because we have seen so many times HR is boyfriend's name, supervisors and other friends' names, all BS.
Mm.
Because people are desperate to get the right job, we just need to make sure we need to verify whether it is the right person, right?
Mm.
And
Well,
and
it's
it's the
good to
correct
know
person.
that
Yeah.
such things exist. It reminds me almost of the Chinese New Year hire a boyfriend to show to your aunties kind of a scam.
In Japan as well, right? You can hire companions to go and
Yes,
visit your parents and all that. So, I mean,
exactly.
that's in fact we coming to say. But anyway, in that topic, we even have B2C hiring. We have
Uh huh.
people coming in asking to verify their future spouses. Whether it's an arranged marriage in India, very very popular, and then even for someone you have met. People want to verify authenticity. We verify the person whether is it really this guy really qualified, does it really did it really work in the
Okay.
company, but we tell them that yes, we
This
can
is
do that.
something that you offer.
Yes, we offer, but
Okay.
we do say that we only can do that with the signed consent uploaded into the platform, because otherwise, this will be data privacy violation.
Mm.
Even if it's a social media check, we still want to get out there. We will get want to get the signed consent, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they'll handle the conversation, right? Hey, we've been dating for a year. I need to do a verification on you, right? I think it's a
Just need
different.
to make sure that you are who you say you are.
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's very important because we have seen so many cases of scams, of fake people, and then you siphon out your bank account. So many cases, right? Educated people falling in a scam love, right? There's so many love
Mm,
scams. I
mm.
think every other day the papers we're reading about it now, right? So I
Yeah,
think people are
it
very
looks like a very
vulnerable.
promising kind of business opportunity if you can
Yes.
resolve that data privacy part.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the part which is hard. But we are not going to compromise on that because it will be if the guy comes after us, there's a potential lawsuit out there, right?
For sure.
So there are matching platforms out there, to match a potential partner,
Mm-hmm.
and you could actually even some one of them we are talking to wants to use our service to vet people, and then you
Mm-hmm.
will have a badge that this person has been vetted. We already
So it's
do
like a
that for some
verified badge.
verified or
Yeah.
vetted. Yeah, we already started doing that for some of the recruitment platforms already. So
Mm-hmm.
we already do that. So only vetted people will actually be on. In fact, they will enjoy better ratings higher
Mm.
up. The algorithm will push them up to be selected by potential
Yeah, that's
employers.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so, Kanan, a question that I really want to ask you, given your experience, right? So, you have run Avance for 8 years already, scaled
Mm,
it up to about 125 people now, and, not just like within Singapore, but really geographically as well,
mm.
right? So, how do you find that your role as a founder has evolved as the company has grown?
Yeah. So Uber told me that after 3 or 5 years, you can take a rest. If I see that person, I will literally punch on the face. Sorry, I'm not violent. Because I think every stage you have different challenges, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure every founder will say that. So when I
Mm-hmm.
started the business, I mean, working for someone with the pay coming in every month, flying from business class, downgrading to the cheapest budget flight, there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of adjustments, plenty of
I feel
adjustments.
you. I feel you
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So the first 2 to 3 years were really tough, really, really tough.
Mm.
Especially ours is a business which involves liability, right?
Yes.
Background checking is a very high risk and compliance kind of task and service, and a lot of companies will not want to use a young company because they will be worried that you might be closed in a year or something.
Mm.
So which is why first 2 years were tough, and after that, unfortunately, COVID also came. So I think out
Mm.
of the 8 years, 4 years were probably I should write it off. I think essentially we're a 4-year-old company. Then as we grows, you grow your workforce, you grow your
Mm.
technology. You want to be obviously the cutting edge. Of course, we have the fantastic advantage of being nimble and flexible. So when you
Mm-hmm.
work for large companies, anything you put through is going to take you weeks and months to get approved. Here, I could approve it
Mm.
within a day, get things
Mm.
done for clients. Like today, one of the large telcos came and said that we want this customization, and
Mm.
next day I said let's do it, and next week we'll go
Mm.
live, right? So
Mm.
that kind of fast flexibility, which I think a lot of large corporates have started appreciating, which is
Mm.
why a lot of our clients who all used to work with larger streaming companies and have started switching
Mm.
over.
Mm.
So,
Okay.
so which means you also get the other stress of, oh, now we have bigger, bigger, bigger logos and the largest consulting companies, largest telcos, largest banks all coming with
Mm.
you. So you have a lot more pressure because there's you have to your bar gets higher and higher and higher, right?
Mm.
But I think as your passion in the product, your belief in the product, and I think the focus is really on not you or not Avance, but how you're going to solve the client's problems. I think if you're
Mm.
as long as you're focused on being a problem solving person, you
Yep.
will be able to deliver. The revenue will just come. Revenue will just come. If you're only going to think
Mm.
about revenue, then very difficult, right? But if you focus on
Mm.
what problems you're going to solve and how you're going to solve it faster in a more compliant way and more
Mm.
effective and efficient way than your competitors, you got
Mm.
it, right?
So
Uh,
that is true from the beginning until now,
from
right?
very
So
first day.
that is the thing that has
Yeah,
remained true.
very first day. I mean, it's always about pain problems. It's always not
Mm.
about us. It's about what are your problems, what are your potential problems, what are the problems your competitors have faced, and how we have helped them. The
Mm.
traditional selling method, feel, felt, found. Well, I feel
Mm.
you. Many of them who felt the same problem now found this solution with Avance, right? Feel, felt, found.
Mm.
So
Mm.
it's a very classic thing, but it works, right? So as long your thinking is about how to solve the problem, how to make life easier for them, how
Yeah.
to make the process more efficient, then your product will just evolve with it.
Mm,
So when I started the business, I was sleepless because I was panicky. I got family to take care of, no regular pay
for sure.
coming in. So you wake up in
Yeah.
cold sweats and your heart starts beating. You you didn't sleep for that reason. Now I don't sleep because uh, you're just so
You have a
excited.
giant logo coming in tomorrow.
Giant logo. There's more than that. It's the excitement because your best ideas actually come two times, right? Once when you drink and you get a bit high, best ideas come. Trust me, I'm not a
Now I
drunkard.
think I know you a bit better, Kanan.
But I'm not a drunkard. I'll put a disclaimer to it. All right. And I'm drinking tea. I don't even have a wine glass. It's already 5 o'clock. And the second thing is actually best ideas come up in the middle of the night. And it's
Mm.
unfortunate, which is why you can see all the lines because you don't sleep super well. It is not good. You have to learn how to sleep well. Now I'm starting to clock good 5 to 6 hours continuously. But I came very far from doing that. In the beginning, it was always 3 hours, 4 hours, and then you get disturbed, and then you quickly type out the notes the ideas came because you're very scared that when you wake up, you forget that idea.
It was
I
like a
even have a
dream
whiteboard.
kind
I'll
of thing.
scribble on the
Yes.
whiteboard. Yeah, yeah, so best ideas come. So uh, I think the excitement, even after 8 years, I'm still so excited, right? Because there's so many ideas, so many things to do, so much of geographies you got to cover, so much of market opportunities. And I
Mm,
think this space is growing with our company new due diligence solutions now. Now we can help companies do DD on their partners, on their vendors,
mm.
on their clients, on their investee companies if you're M&A. So there's so much work to do. And I think that's what and I think I'm sure as a fellow CEO and co-founder founder you know that that's the fun part of this job. It's I think the
It
best
is.
sport you
Yeah,
ever
it's
had
like an
it.
evolving product.
Yeah, it's
Like
evolving
for
product,
yeah.
evolving business, evolving challenges. You got headwinds, tailwinds. You go with that. You're always on the cutting edge, and I think we're so fortunate that we're doing this because I now, if let's say one fine day, like if I were to exit and sell the company, and somebody
Mm,
would hire me as a senior a member of the team. I do not know. Maybe I will. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure whether will I be enjoying the same level of passion and excitement.
mm,
But having said that, all the companies I've worked for, I've always been. Now I've got president clubs awards and everything before because I always used to be racing myself hard, right, to be on the
mm,
to be the forefront because I'm a very competitive person. But I think it's different. It's different when you're playing your own sport. It's
mm.
different, and I think this is
Maybe it's a bit like having your own baby, right? Like
yeah,
versus like taking care of someone else's child in a way.
true.
But is it fair to say, Kanan, that the stress or rather the challenges has sort of evolved, right? From in the beginning, it was more of like existential, right? Into, oh, now that we know that we have a proper core business that is generating good revenues, good cash flow, now it's about all these other opportunities that I can
Yeah,
see out there and
yeah.
like which ones of these I should actually focus on.
Yeah, opportunities, and the other thing is also how you're going to be making sure your edge versus the second guy racing behind me, how to keep the edge
Mm,
over, which is why you have to
okay.
continuously innovate. Like for example, platforms. Now we are going to launch the 3.0 version already.
Mm,
So it's all about keeping your uniquely competitive differentiators, your UCDs, I call it, which is more
mm,
powerful than your normal USPs, to be
mm,
ahead of your competitors. So you have to constantly innovate, constantly
mm,
think, constantly get
mm,
better, right? I think that is the other part which evolves, right? Because
mm,
now it's not about bread and butter. Now it's all about how to be the number one, right? How to be the clear
mm,
number one. I think that's
mm.
where that's what keeps me sleepless now. So that's how it evolves, right? Yeah, yeah.
It's a better problem to have, I would say.
It's a
Yeah,
better problem to have.
problems never go away. You just have like better quality problems.
Of course, it's still a day-to-day firefighting and all that, but I think I would like obviously there's escalations always back to me, but my
Mm,
people know that they have to deliver. Everyone has a performance scorecard,
mm,
and everybody has the Stephen Covey's rocks versus gravel versus sand versus water.
mm,
Everyone
mm,
knows what are the stones or the rocks to put into first, right? So I think it's a fun journey, but I think it just evolves. Every other day is a different day, and most
mm,
importantly, I think CEOs have to learn. Right, it's a
mm,
lifelong learning. Every day, you got to learn something new. I think since I started the business, I started learning about blockchain. And even have a ledger for that for verification. Started
mm,
learning very hard on AI, and today I'm out there training companies under the training arm.
mm,
How to digitalize, how to incorporate RPA, AI, blockchain, all
Mm,
these things into your technology, how to look at your assets and your future digital vision, and how to
mm,
scale that to get there. So now I'm starting to share, not just in talks and keynotes, but
mm,
also in training form. So I think that's also very fun. Yeah, because you
mm.
also learn from other companies, other industries. So I think you have to learn every day. I always tell my people, just replace your Netflix time with 30 minutes of self-learning. Yeah, I mean, I also watch Netflix before I go to bed, but I like to at least allocate 30 minutes to do some self-learning,
Mm.
because I think that's how you keep your brain active, and that's how you get updated, and that's how you keep at the forefront. Yeah,
Okay. Well, good to know, Kanan. And, this has been a really enjoyable conversation. I've learned a lot of things from you, more than we had like when we were having our lunch together. But I think in particular, like what I've really learned is, that you have to evolve, like going forward as a CEO, right? And
yeah,
the challenges that I'm facing today probably going to be quite different from the challenges that I'm facing in the future. But the
yeah.
one thing that will remain the same is that there will always be challenges, right?
Yes,
It's just that we have to keep learning and evolving as we go
yeah,
along.
yeah,
So, Kanan, thank you so much for
yeah.
joining us today at Scaling Today. Can you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Um,
LinkedIn, Twitter. I
Give me
know
a
that you're
while.
active on LinkedIn, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether you're
I'm
active
active
on
on the
X.
LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is where I mostly am. The other social media, I'm not really that active. I treat LinkedIn as my meta, as my ex, as my because I actually post personal stuff, and I always know that every time I post the personal stuff, the impressions and the likes are boom. Anything
Mm,
company or business or industry related is usually very slow climb. So I know people actually look at LinkedIn as their new meta, right, or
mhm.
as their new X, or
Yeah,
as a
agree
new,
with you on that.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's why you can usually find me. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Kanan.
Thank you.